Okay, today we will discuss about the different biomolecules. In your syllabus, in the first half of the unit, it discusses about the different types of biomolecules that are part of the system, which includes the amino acids, proteins, enzymes, nucleic acid, carbohydrates, lipids, vitamins. I guess most of you have already studied this in your plus 2 class and quite familiar with all these terms, but as a part of the syllabus we'll have to cover this point. So today we'll discuss about the different biomolecules that make up a cell. So till date we have highlighted upon a particular structure of a cell, the different organelles of the cell. So we can have an example for this. Say for example, you have booked a flat somewhere in a developing city or a developing area. You have booked a flat or say apartment, and that apartment is well furnished with the different sophisticated things that brings the luxury to the life and all. But unfortunately the builder has never given you the possession. What will be the use of that flat then? Similar is true for the cell also. A cell, a living cell, it consists of several different organelles which has different compartments. If you consider a eukaryotic cell, it has nucleus, it has endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, chloroplast, Golgi bodies, lysosome, peroxisome, etc. All these are available, but if within that cell the biomolecule is not there, what will be the use of that organelles then? So it is like a well furnished house without any living being present over there. So you have purchased that flat or apartment, but no one stays over there. So it is as good as a dead cell. So a living cell, it consists of, or a cell, it gets fulfilled only when it has the different biomolecules that make up the living being, or that make up the different processes carrying out or carried out within a cell. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So there are many different biomolecules that are present in a cell,
Yes, sir.
but to name them, some are carbohydrates, which carries the immediate source of energy. Then we have nucleic acid, which carries genetic information. Then we have amino acid, which forms a chain of amino acid joined by peptide bond. They form a protein, and proteins are the molecules which executes the different functions within a cell. Then some of the proteins, or we can call enzymes are the catalytic molecules which carry out the different reactions. So they are bicatalyst. Most of them are proteinaceous in nature. So your amino acid, proteins, enzymes, nucleic acid, carbohydrates. Apart from them, there are lipids and fats, which are also the storehouse of energy, and vitamins and hormones. These are some other biomolecules which makes up a cell a complete or functional cell. So in today's lecture we will try to have an overview of the different types of biomolecules that make up or that are part of the living cell. Now molecules of life are synthesized by living cells. So which are those molecules, or we can call them as a biomolecules? They are carbohydrate, lipids, protein, nucleic acid, as we have discussed. Molecules of life differ in three-dimensional structure and function. Now something is common with all these biomolecules. Biomolecules, they are, we can categorize them based upon the composition of different elements present in it. Some of the elements we can call as macro elements. Macro elements means the elements which are present in larger quantity. So out of them, to name them few, 6 to 7 molecules can be regarded as the macromolecules, like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphor and sulfur. So why we call them as a major molecules or major macromolecules? Because most of the cellular weight or the weight of the different biomolecules is because of the presence of these 6 elements: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus and sulfur. So if you take any cell, around 95 to 98% or more than that, the weight of that cell is because of this particular elements. And along with this, some other elements are also needed, like uh, which make up the functioning of a cell, like iron, selenium, for other molecules which are present inside a cell. So there is a list of different elements, but these 6 elements are regarded as the macro elements. They make the backbone of a cell, and these all are the organic molecules. So obviously organic molecules means they are made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So molecules of life differ in three-dimensional structure and function, but they have something common. They have carbon backbone, and to this carbon backbone they have some functional groups. I guess in chemistry you might be studying this functional groups. Functional group is the group which imparts some additional property to that molecule. Now the structures gives clue how this or how the molecule can function. The organic compounds consist primarily of carbon hydrogen atoms. Carbon atom bond covalently with up to 4 carbon atoms or non-carbon atoms. So we know the valency. Carbon has 4 valency, that means it can form a bond with 4 different molecules. That molecules can be carbon itself, or that can be hydrogen, or that can be any other molecules, often in long chain or in ring. That is, it can form such types of bonding and can form a higher order structure. That structure can be a linear structure, or that can be a ring like or circular structure. The functional groups attached to carbon backbone which influence the organic compounds to acquire a particular properties. Now using this different types of models, we can represent the molecule in extended form, in the ring like structure, in Haworth projection or space filling model. So they are the means to represent the molecules. We have nothing to do with this. The functional groups which are prominently seen in biomolecules, the first of course is the hydroxyl group, OH group, seen in alcohols. So like molecules like sugars, amino acids, they are readily seen. Most of these molecules are water solubles. Then we have methane group or methyl group to it, CH3 group, which can be seen in fatty acids and which are generally insoluble in waters. Then we have carbonyl group, the aldehydic or ketonic, seen in our amino acids. Then carboxyl group, even these are also seen in amino acids and other molecules, carbohydrates and other. Amino group, one amine group, NH2 or NH3, that is non-ionized and ionized structures. The phosphate groups. So all these are the major functional groups that make up a living cell, or they make up part of a biomolecules that completes a living cell. Apart from this, there are also some other molecules like terpenes. So your cholesterols and other molecules which acts as, or we can call them as a steroidal molecules, they are also important component of the living beings. For example, estrogen, testosterone, these are the hormones present in human beings. What does they do? They help in the process of metabolism. A cell, we know cell use energy to grow and maintain themselves. So while discussing the early cell, or in our earlier lectures, While discussing about the basic properties or fundamental properties of a cell or a living being, we have discussed that a cell must be able to grow and divide. And for the growth and maintenance, these cells they rely or they require energy. This energy they have to take it from the food molecule and surrounding molecules. So these biomolecules they serve the purpose. Enzyme driven reaction build, rearrange and split organic molecules so that they can be converted from one form to another usable form, and the different physiological processes can take place. Now building organic compounds, cell it forms complex organic molecules. Like from simple sugars, it forms carbohydrates. We know carbohydrates they are polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy ketones. That means it has hydroxyl group along with it, and they are aldehydic sugar or ketonic sugar. They comes together and they form a carbohydrate. We'll later on discuss the classification of carbohydrate and all, but from simple elements which comes together, which attaches with the functional group, and they form simpler molecules. These simpler molecules they interact with one another and they form a comparatively complex molecule, that is a carbohydrate. Carbohydrates can be monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, polysaccharides, etc. But from simple, they complex molecules are formed. Again, for this formation, energy is required. Similar is true for fatty acids. Fatty acids they come together and they form the lipids and waxes. Amino acids they are the building block of proteins. Amino group containing and carboxyl containing entity, we regard it as an amino acid. One amino acid they bind with the another amino acid forming a peptide bond, and the chain of peptides is referred to as a protein. That is again from simple molecule a complex molecule is formed. Similar thing is seen with the nucleic acids, the four nucleotides in case with the DNA A, T, G and C. They combines or they are joined together by phosphodiester linkages and they forms the complex molecule, that is nucleic acids. Something is common in all these cases, that is first of all energy is required, and condensation combines the monomers to form the polymer. So from simpler molecules the complex molecules are purposefully formed within a living cell. Now within a cell, what cell do to organic compounds? So these cells they carry out different types of reaction or certain class of reactions, and what makes them to, or what is the end product of that particular reaction? Say for example condensation reaction. Condensation reaction in which what happens? Two molecules they are covalently joined into a larger one while removing the water molecule. Cleavage, a molecule is split into two smaller ones by the process of hydrolysis. This process is what we can call the synthesis process, and this is the breakdown process. So in terms of biochemistry, we can say this is an anabolism and this is catabolism. So for this both the process energy is required. Then functional group transfer. One molecule gives its functional group entirety or that group to the another molecules. So there is a transfer of functional group. Again enzymes are employed in all these types of cases or all these cases. Then electron transfer. One or more electron taken from one molecule are donated to another molecule with the help of electron transport chains. Then rearrangement. So there is nothing lost or nothing gained, but only simply there is a localization or delocalization of electrons, and there is shuffling of the bonds as we find in the heterocyclic compounds. The alternate single double bonds they are freely rotated. So this rearrangement types of juggling of internal bonds converts one type of organic compound to another. So this major types of reactions they are seen in a living cell to carry out such types of or to form the different molecules, and these biomolecules in turn they helps to carry out a particular function. So the condensation reaction, the HOH, they are removed out in the form of water, and these two molecules are joined. So these are the two sugars, simple sugars. They are having hydroxyl group. By the process of condensation, this H2O is removed and these two molecules are joined, so forming a disaccharide molecule. In this case, hydrolysis, this bond can be broken down by addition of water in it, so we call it as an hydrolysis. So here the water is added to this molecule, and HOH and OH, these two monomers can be again formed. So these are different types of reaction, condensation, hydrolysis reactions. Similar reactions are taking place in other biomolecules as well. Now what we have learned from this is the structure, it dictates the function. We define cells partly by their capacity to build complex carbohydrates and lipids, proteins and nucleic acid. The main building blocks are simpler sugars, fatty acids, amino acids and nucleotides. These organic compounds have a backbone of carbon atoms with functional groups attached to them. Now we'll start with the carbohydrate. Carbohydrates, as we have discussed, they are the polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy ketone. Now polyhydroxy, hydroxy means having OH group, poly means more than one. So any sugar having more than two OH group, we can call it as an hydroxy group or polyhydroxy groups. So simplest of the sugars, they are of at least 3 carbon, as we know, the glyceraldehyde or PEG, PEP, sorry. So 3 carbon compounds, they are the simplest type of sugars. These carbohydrates can be further classified as monosaccharides, oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. Amongst the carbohydrates, monosaccharides are the simplest of the sugars. These monosaccharides are the sugars which cannot be hydrolyzed further. Means if we are not able to hydrolyze it into smaller components. While oligosaccharides, they are the chain of monosaccharides joined together by glycosidic linkage, and that chain can be of 2 to 8 or 10 carbohydrate molecules or monosaccharide units joined together by glycosidic bonds. So that can be disaccharide, trisaccharide, tetrasaccharide, pentasaccharide, etc. These oligosaccharides can be hydrolyzed into smaller sugars. Maybe every time we may not get the complete sugar, but we will end up having the monosaccharide residues. That is, these oligosaccharides can be hydrolyzed into simpler sugars, and these simpler sugars are monosaccharide or monosaccharide residues. Then polysaccharides, they are the complex type of carbohydrates. As the name suggests, polysaccharide means there is a presence of many or n number of saccharide units joined together by glycosidic bonds. These polysaccharides can be again linear or it can be branched. Even in that case, they can be homopolysaccharide or they can be heteropolysaccharides depending upon the combining sugar units. But something is common in all these cases, that is, they are the sugars joined together by glycosidic bonds. What is the function of these carbohydrates? Carbohydrates, they provide the immediate or instant source of energy to the cell. When someone faints, if someone, किसी को चक्कर आता है, गिर जाता है, what we do is we serve them with a glass of water with the sugar and salt. That sugar here is the glucose, and that sugar, it can be readily used by that cell, immediately used, and can be converted into the other forms of energy, and the cell or that system or that individual can gain his consciousness and other things. So carbohydrates, they are the instant source of energy. The other molecules are also there which can provide energy, like lipids and fats. In fact, they have more energy, but they are not the readily, or they cannot be immediately converted into usable form. While carbohydrates, they provide the instant source of energy to the cell. Carbohydrate, they also help in transporting or storing one form of energy into another form. So that is, they can be a reservoir of energy, as in case with the plants. So we know this starch, and in case with the other human beings, the glycogen, it acts as a storage form of energy. The carbohydrate also function as a structural material to make up the structure of a cell, as in case with the plant, the cell wall is made up of cellulose, and cellulose is nothing but a polysaccharide, homopolysaccharide made up of glucose. So carbohydrate, it serves different functions, like it provides, the major function is it provides the instant source of energy. Second, it helps in transporting and storing the different forms of energy. And third and other function is it provides the structural feature, or it provides the structural framework to the cells. Now carbohydrates, the monosaccharides, even they can be further classified as depending upon the number of carbon present in it. That is, they can be triose, tetrose, pentose, hexose, likewise exose, heptose, octose, likewise. So glucose is one of the monosaccharide having 6 carbon compound in it. So here we can find in an extended form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the 6 carbon compound. We call it as a glucose. Having aldehyde group CHO or C double bond OH. This is aldehyde group. This group, it helps in, or it imparts the aldehydic nature to this molecule. Apart from that, the other carbon, they have hydroxyl group in it. Carbon 2 has OH group, third has OH group, fourth has OH group, and likewise. These carbohydrates can be even in the ketonic forms. That is, here the carbon second double bond C double bond O, that is ketonic structures. So while defining carbohydrate, we have defined it as they are the polyhydroxy, because they have more than one OH group. So they are polyhydroxy aldehydes or ketones. Both of them, glucose and fructose, are 6 carbon compounds, then make up a, or they are component of the cell. Then oligosaccharides, this glucose, it can link with the fructose with the help of condensation reaction. This H2O water molecule has been removed, and this glucose and fructose, they are joined together, forming a disaccharide named as sucrose. So the bond which links these two monosaccharide units together is the glycosidic bond. Similar is seen in other molecules. Glucose can link with the fructose to form sucrose, maltose, etc. These are the polysaccharides. They can be in the linear form, they can be in the, what we can say, spiral form or chain form. This can be branched and further linked. So carbohydrates, they can acquire different structures. So these are the linear forms. In case with the amylose, it is the repeating unit of glucose joined together by alpha 1 4 linkages, and they are straight chain. Then the other molecules like starch, cellulose, glycogens, they are the polysaccharides made up of chain of monosaccharide units joined together by glycosidic bonds. In that case, it can be a branched, as we can see in case with the starch and glycogen. In starch, there is a branching, and that in branching there is alpha 1 6 type of additional linkages seen. Similar linkage is also seen in the glycogen. So we can regard the glycogen as animal starch. Glycogen and starch, they are the energy reservoir. Starch is the energy reservoir in case with the plants, and in case with the animals, glycogen is the energy reservoir. Structure of cellulose, here we can see them, it is present everywhere. As we have discussed, glycogen in animals, this polysaccharide is a storage form of excess glucose. It is especially abundant in the liver and muscle of highly active animals including fishes and human beings. Another polysaccharide is a chitin. Chitin is a polymer of N-acetyl glucosamine. This is at 2' position we can find the N-acetyl chain attached to this glucose molecule. We call it as an N-acetyl glucose, and because amine group is attached over here, we call it as an N-acetyl glucose amine. So chitin is the one of the important polymer seen in case with the most of the animal skin. Most of the animals which are having tough skin. Even, hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I guess someone has requested Anamika. In case with the fungi, their cell wall is made up of chitin, and chitin is nothing but a polymer of N-acetyl glucosamine joined together by again glycosidic bonds. So the glycosidic bonds makes the carbohydrate molecules, the polymers of carbohydrate molecules. So what is the take home lesson from carbohydrate? Carbohydrate are the most abundant biomolecules present on the earth, not only in the biological system, but most important biomolecule that is present on the earth surface is also, we know that the major part of our earth is covered by the water, and the water contains the algae, and algae is nothing but a where their cell wall is made up of cellulose. So cellulose amongst the carbohydrate is one of the largest polymer. Carbohydrate otherwise also are the most abundant biomolecules present on the earth. They are simple sugar, functions as transportable forms of energy or as quick energy sources, as we have discussed. Complex carbohydrates, they serve the structural functions, and also they are the energy reservoirs. Next is the lipids. Lipids, they are actually the group of the greasy, oily, all these component wax, they are clubbed together, and they are referred under one heading as the lipids. Fats, phospholipid, wax, and sterols. These are the molecules which have some other function. They do carry energy, and as we have discussed, in fact they carry more amount of energy. If you go after the hydrolysis of same weight of carbohydrate and that of the lipid, after hydrolysis of lipid we can gain more amount of energy out of it, but that energy is not readily available. For that we will have to go for beta oxidation and a long pathway to convert that stored form of energy into usable form. But for carbohydrate, that is not required. It can be easily converted from glycolysis. If it is a glucose can be converted into pyruvic acid by the process of glycolysis, and we all know glycolysis is the universal pathway seen in most of the organisms, right from prokaryotic cell to multicellular organisms. Now these lipids, they don't dissolve in water, they dissolve in non-polar substances. So here we must understand one concept again, which you might have studied in chemistry: like dissolves like. The molecule which is polar, it will be dissolved in polar solvent only. The solute, if it is non-polar, in order to dissolve it, we'll have to go for a non-polar solvent. Solute is something which gets dissolved in a solvent, and like dissolves like, means if the molecule is of polar nature, it can be dissolved in only polar molecule. Polar is dissolved in polar, non-polar is dissolved in non-polar. The functions of lipids, they serve the major source of energy, but they are the storage form of energy. So whenever we find a healthy human being, we find them the extra energy that he consumes is stored in the form of fat. So they are the storage form of energy. They are also structural materials. They help in the formation of or acquiring a particular structure to the cell. They are used in cell membrane. I have uploaded one presentation on lecture on plasma membrane today. You can see that the plasma membrane or the unit membrane is made up of, the major part of it is covered by the lipids, that is phospholipids, lipids conjugated with the phosphate head. Lipids with one or two or three fatty acid tails, they can be saturated fatty acid, means without double bond characteristics, or only joined by single bonds, they are saturated fatty acids. Fatty acids can be unsaturated fatty acids. That unsaturated structure can be cis or trans. That means it can acquire a chair structure or they can acquire a boat structure. Triglycerides, they are the simplest type of lipids. They can be seen, they are neutral fats. Three fatty acid tails are joined over there, so we can have an example of glycerol and all. Most abundant animal fat present in our system is body fat. They are the major energy reserves. We'll find this in case with the migratory birds, the birds which travels across the ocean or which moves from one country to other. It is the fats, that is with the help of which they can store that energy and can retrieve energy out of it to carry out the different functions. Even the polar bears, there's other organisms which do remain alive or do sustain the extreme cold conditions, like penguins and all. They have a thick layer of fats in them, and that lipids or that fat layers, they help in protecting them from the cold and also shield the internal cellular components of the cells. So glycerol and other molecules can be seen as. Then phospholipids, they are the.
The screen is not visible.
Sorry.
The screen is not visible.
Okay, I'll share it again. Yes, can you see this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Phospholipids, the main component of the cell membrane, as we have discussed, the plasma membrane or unit membrane, or we can call it as a cell membrane. So membrane, it covers the, even in fact, the cellular organelle as well. So these membranes are bilayer in structure. Bilayer means having two layers. So this is one layer and this is another layer. So these phospholipids, they are made up of hydrophilic head made up of phosphate, which is water loving or which can interact with the water, while the tails, they are made up of lipids, that is they are hydrophobic in nature, which means they tend to or they try to avoid the contact with that of the water. So plasma membrane or unit membrane or cell membrane, they are generally bilayer structure made up of phosphate head and hydrophobic or lipid tiles. Waxes, the forms pliable, water repelling and lubricating structures, they are seen in case with. They also have several other functions inside a cell. Sterols or cholesterols, in case with the plants we have phytosterols. So these sterols or cholesterols, they are also part of the cell membrane, which can act as a temperature buffer, we can say, which helps to retain the ultrastructure of the plasma membrane. These sterols, again we know they can be good or bad sterols. In case with the lipid profiling, we go for this good sterol and bad sterol. Omega 3, they are good sterols, while there are the loofah and all, they are bad cholesterols. So cholesterols, they are the steroidal molecules having this cyclic ring structure more than 3 4 and chain structures. They are having different functions within a cells. So lipids, in summary, complex lipid functions as energy reservoir. They are structural material of cell membrane. They are signaling molecules and waterproofing or lubricating substances present within a cell. So whatever we have discussed till date, till this time, do anyone have any doubt?
Yes, no, sir. Doubt.
Should we continue?
No, sir. No, sir.
Should we continue?
Yes, sir.
So next biomolecule is the proteins. Proteins, we know the proteins are the functional molecule present within a cell. Now proteins have different functions. What are those? They are providing the structural framework to the cell. They are providing nutrition to the cell. Most of the enzymes, that is biocatalysts present within a cell, they are made up of proteins. Proteins also help in the process of transportation. Protein also help in communication. Proteins also help in defensing, that is antibodies and all. These proteins, they are made up of 20 standard amino acids. Now do listen this very carefully. Amino acid, within a living cell there can be more than 300 types of amino acids, but amongst them only 20 which are directly employed during the process of protein synthesis, they are regarded as standard amino acids. So 20 or 21st or 22, at the max 22 amino acids can be regarded as then standard amino acids. Standard amino acid means these are the amino acids which are directly incorporated during the process of protein synthesis. मतलब जब हम protein synthesis होगा cell के अंदर, that is after transcription, that mRNA, it is threaded through the small subunit of ribosome, the larger subunit of ribosome which contains rRNA along with the tRNA, the charged tRNA, which identifies a particular amino acid, which breaks down the information present on mRNA in the form of codon. The tRNA has anticodon and it selectively takes up a amino acid and binds on the surface of that mRNA. So mRNA, tRNA and rRNA together, what they does is they convert the information which is in the form of nucleotide language into amino acid language. So that process is regarded as translation, or we can call it as a protein synthesis. So during this process only 20 amino acids are directly incorporated. So it will not be surprising for you that within a cell, within a protein, you may find more than 20 types of amino acids, but all of them are not then standard amino acids. They may be the modified amino acids. The amino acids which are directly incorporated, only incorporated during the process of protein synthesis, are regarded as 20 standard amino acids. Now as the name suggests, these amino acids, they are having one amine group, that is NH3 plus with them, and one carboxyl group with them. Both of them joined to a central carbon. This carbon can be regarded as an alpha carbon. So this carbon, the central carbon, to which from one side the carboxyl group is attached, to its left hand side amine group is attached, and along with this it has an R side chain. Now this R side chain is the chain where all the amino acid, they vary from one another. So all the amino acid, they vary in this particular structure. Otherwise, we know carbon has three valency of 4. From one side it has carboxyl group, from another side it has amine group. The third valence is satisfied by hydrogen, and the fourth valence is satisfied by the R side chain. And all the amino acids, they vary in their side chain only. So there are 20 standard amino acids, and all of them, they vary in their R side chain only. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So we can find the structure. This is the central carbon. We
Yes,
can
sir.
find it as an alpha carbon. To this alpha carbon, from one side carboxyl group is attached. To this alpha carbon, from one side amine group is attached, and from one side the hydrogen is present, and all the amino acids, they vary from one another in their side chain. Now if this side chain it has hydrogen, this amino acid will be an glycine. Glycine is one of the simplest amino acid. Now we know that if we replace this R side chain, that is H, which is seen in case with the glycine, with that of an methyl group, say CH3, that will be regarded as an which amino acid? Alanine. So this central carbon, which is connected from one side with the carboxyl group, from one side to amine group, from one side to hydrogen, and from one side in case with the alanine CH3 group, means the central carbon alpha carbon is joined together by 4 different functional group. Such carbon, they are regarded as, yes, anyone? A carbon,
Chiral carbon.
chiral carbon, right? We can call them as an chiral center. And chiral carbons, they show one property. What is that?
Optical activity.
Yes, optical activity. So from this we can have, or we can note down that all the amino acid except glycine, they are having the chiral center in it. As they are having the chiral center in it, they are optically active. So in case with the alanine, sorry, in case with the valine, this CH3 group is replaced with CH3CH, CH3. In case with the other amino acids, it keeps on changing, and the different amino acids, they are formed. Now these different amino acids, they are joined together during the process of protein synthesis by the enzyme called as an peptidyl transferase, forming a peptide bond. So this is one amino acid, methionine. It is attached with another amino acid, alanine. They are joined together here by a condensation reaction where the water molecule is liberated, and these two amino acids are here joined together, so forming a peptide bond, that is CONH. So this CONH, that means the carboxyl group of one amino acid, it interacts with the amine group of the another molecule, removing the water molecule, that is condensation reaction, and CONH, this bond is formed. In case with chemistry we call it as an amide bond, but in biochemistry or in biological system we call it as an peptide bond. So peptide bond is nothing but an amide bond. So these two amino acids, they are joined together by peptide bond, and we regard this as an dipeptide. Two amino acids joined together by single peptide bond, we call it as an dipeptide. Dipeptide means two amino acids joined together by single peptide bond. Here we are not counting the number of peptide bonds, here we are counting the number of amino acids joined together by peptide bond. So this particular structure where methionine is joined with alanine by a peptide bond, we call it as an dipeptide structure. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So during the
Yes, sir.
protein synthesis, such chain of amino acids they are formed. We the long chain of amino acid we call it as a peptide. That peptide can be as small as dipeptide, or it can be as long as thousands or more than that, millions of amino acids together. So that structure we call it as a protein. Amino acids they join together by peptide bond, forming an amide linkage by the process of condensation. This event it takes place during the process of protein synthesis. For this, the three of the forms of RNAs are required: mRNA, tRNA, rRNA. By looking after the genetic code, the information present in the form of codon is decoded by the tRNA. The charged tRNA it comes and it binds over there, and a peptidyl transferase, the enzyme which forms the peptide bond between two amino acid. It forms a chain of amino acid. So this chain of amino acid is called as peptide, or long chain of peptide or long chain of amino acid can be also called as a protein. So this is continuous chain. Here we can find methionine, alanine, leucine, tryptophan, likewise. So they are chain of amino acid joined together by CONH, that is peptide bond. So this is the carbon which is darkly colored or highlighted. It is alpha carbon, which is from one side having amine group and from one side carboxyl group. This has joined with the another amino acid. So the carboxyl group from one amino acid it joins with the amine group of the amino acid, another amino acid, liberating water molecule and forming this CONH bond, that is amide bond in chemistry, and in biological system we refer it as a peptide bond. This bond is again having partial double bond characteristics. Because of this delocalization of electron, we know that it is also nitrogen, it also pulls, or it is electronegative and it pulls this double bond. So there is a rotation of double bond between carbon oxygen and carbon nitrogen. So this has 60% double bond characteristics, and this carbon nitrogen it has 40% double bond characteristics. So our peptide bond is in a dynamic state. It has having what we can say partial double bond characteristics. So this peptide bond they joins two amino acids together. Similarly, this alanine is further joined with the leucine by forming another peptide bond. This leucine is further joined with the tryptophan having another peptide bond, and this chain it can keep on continue till the translation is terminated. Now in earlier slide here we have seen this is the extended structure or linear structure of amino acid, chain of amino acids. This structure is regarded as the primary structure. Primary structure means amino acid joined by peptide bond which forms a linear polypeptide chain. But this chain it will not remain in an linear or straight form. They readily converts, or they get readily converted into secondary structures. The proteins they acquire the higher order of structures, that is secondary structure, tertiary structure, and in case with the multimeric protein it forms the quaternary structure. Secondary structures they are formed by weak bonds. So the primary structure in all the biomolecules they are joined or they are formed by the strong bond. So for this you must be very familiar with the terminologies. What is bond, what is strong bond, what is weak bond, how to calculate or how to estimate the strength of a bond. If it is having strength more than 7 kilocalorie per mole, then that bond is a strong bond. If the bond strength is lesser than 7 kilocalorie per mole, then that bonds are weak bonds. In biological system, the higher order of structures they are stabilized by weaker bonds. To name some, they are hydrogen bonds having 4 kilocalorie per mole. Weaker than that is hydrophobic bonds, van der Waal forces, and ionic forces. Ionic bond नहीं, ionic forces, they are the weaker bonds. So any bond which requires lesser than 7 kilocalorie per mole amount of energy to make or break the bond, such bonds are regarded as an weak bonds. So the secondary structure, tertiary structures, they are formed by weak bonds. In case with the protein, the building blocks are amino acids joined together by peptide bond, which is a covalent bond. In case with the carbohydrates, the building blocks or joining molecules are monosaccharide units joined together by glycosidic bonds, which are covalent bond, strong bond. In case with the nucleic acids, the combining molecules are nucleotides joined together by phosphodiester bonds, which are covalent bonds. So covalent bond, which is a stronger bond, which is a strong bond, it forms the primary structure of the biomolecule. But for the sake of function, for acquiring higher order of structure, this structure, particularly in case with the proteins, they acquire higher order of structure, that is secondary structure. In case with protein, it can be alpha helix. That alpha helix can be right-handed or it can be left-handed. It can be beta sheets, that can be parallel or anti-parallel. So secondary structure of proteins can have helix or coils or sheet-like structure, or even super secondary structures can be seen, means which is a combination of more than one secondary structure. Now this a peptide, single peptide, it can further fold and form the highest possible structure that it can form is the tertiary structure, that is the sheets, the beta sheets and coils, they pack with one another into a functional domain. So we know that proteins, they are the functional molecule within a cell, and this functional molecules, they will function only if they can acquire a particular structure. So the formation of a particular structure, this primary structure has to further adopt into secondary structure. This secondary structure has to convert it into tertiary structure. But in case with the multimeric protein means a protein which is made up of more than one peptide. Say for example your antibody, which consists of different globulins, alpha 2, beta 2. So alpha 2 means there are two subunits of alpha globulin and two subunits of beta globulin, that is there are 4 peptides. So all these peptides, they are in their tertiary structure, each one of them, they are interacting with the another peptide which is in the tertiary structure. So the highest possible structure that protein can form, or a quaternary protein it can form, is the quaternary structure. Many proteins, that is enzymes, they consist of 2 or more chain. So anywhere if you find a protein made up of more than one peptide, it acquires the quaternary structure. Apart from this, there are other functions, other proteins which are conjugated proteins, we can call them as a conjugate protein. Conjugate protein, as the name suggests, the proteins which are associated with another molecule. To name them, there is glycoprotein, means the major part of this combination is the proteins in association with the carbohydrate. So we call them as a glycoprotein. Carbohydrate is present in little amount and protein is present in larger amount. Another conjugate protein example is lipoprotein, a protein associated with the lipids, fibrous protein and globular proteins. There are the different types of proteins. So this is the primary structure. Here we can find the fully extended structure, chain like structure or linear structure. This structure further acquire the secondary structure. This is the helical structure. This is the sheet like structure, wave like structure we can find. So like the pages in a book, they are sheets which are arranged one over the other. So the secondary structure can be this helical like structure, as like the DNA helix, or they can have this sheet like structures. So these are the secondary structures. This Secondary structures can interact with one another, that is a combination of helix and sheets, they form this tertiary structure. And more than one peptide in their tertiary structure, that is this blue color, red color and this green color, these are two different proteins interacting with one another, they are forming the highest possible protein structure, that is quaternary structure. The proteins, they function in their quaternary structure.
Hello sir,
Yes,
रेडियो कंटिन्यू कर
sorry,
आप लेक्चर कंटिन्यू कर रहे हो क्या?
should we stop here? Should we stop here?
ऐसी कोई बात नहीं सर, आप लेते हो सकते हैं.
It's up to you. If you are getting bored, we can stop. आप बोर हो रहे होंगे तो हम रुक सकते हैं. So we'll stop in couple of minutes. Okay. The protein, the structure dictates the function. That is, we have started with the same content. Sometimes a mutation in DNA results in an amino acid substitution that alters the protein structure and comprises its function. So for example, in case with the sickle cell anemia, what happens in sickle cell anemia? Only one amino acid is replaced with another. So because of this, there is change or alteration in the structure of that protein, and instead of appearing a biconcave shape, it acquires a sickle-like structure. So this type of structure can be formed instead of the biconcave structure. So I guess it is enough for today. So take home lesson from protein is, structurally and functionally, proteins are the most diverse molecules present within us living beings. They include enzymes, they include structural materials, they also include the signaling molecules and transporters. So if anyone have any doubt, you can ask. Do anyone have any doubt?
No doubt sir.
Sir, can you send this PDF in the Google Classroom of today's lecture?
I'll share it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll stop here then. Thank you.
Thank you sir.
Thank you.